Alright y'all, let's talk about what your gun says about you. Whether you love a M&P Shield or you try to conceal a 1911, it's time to roast what you own. Some of these guns are available to civilians in the good old US of a Second Amendment's got your back on owning your own piece of history. But let me tell you, if you're gonna pack, do us all a favor and be a responsible gun owner. Safety first, cowboy. Now, even if you're not stateside, you know as well as I do that sometimes you need that little extra peace of mind. When things go sideways, having a reliable, well-trained tool on you can make all the difference. But your choice of carry piece? Oh buddy, that says way more about you than you think. Let's dive into what your pocket pistol screams to the world about who you really are deep down. Number 1. Glock 43X. You carry a Glock 43X? Of course you do. You're the guy who watched exactly 3 YouTube videos before making your purchase decision. You proudly tell everyone it's basically the perfect gun, while completely ignoring that you've modified the hell out of it because apparently it wasn't so perfect after all. You probably have a drawer full of holsters you've abandoned because none of them are just right, and you spend more time talking about your everyday carry setup than actually training with it. The 43X is the pumpkin spice latte of the gun world. Basic, predictable, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You're the type to repeat reliability like it's a religious mantra while secretly wondering if you should have gotten something with more personality. But at least you can sleep soundly knowing you made the safest, most middle-of-the-road choice possible. Congrats on being thoroughly average, my friend. Number 2. SIG SAUER P365. Ah, the SIG P365 carrier. You think you're special, don't you? You watched the same YouTube videos as the GLOCK guy, but decided you were too sophisticated for something so common. You probably introduce yourself at parties by mentioning you're into firearms within the first 3 minutes. Let's be honest. You bought this because some tactical influencer with a sick beard and 15 different camo patterns told you it was the way to go. You've convinced yourself that those extra 2 rounds in the magazine will definitely save your life someday, ignoring that you've only been to the range twice in the last year. The P365 is the carry gun for people who want everyone to think they did their research while secretly just following the herd. You probably have strong opinions about the MHS trials, despite not being able to strip your own weapon in under a minute. But hey, at least your gun looks cool in Instagram photos with your EDC pocket dump featuring a $200 tactical pen and a wallet that's thicker than the gun itself. Number 3. .38 Special Revolver. You carry a .38 Special Revolver? Well, hello there, time traveler. Did you enjoy the Eisenhower administration? You either have more gray hair than a silver fox convention, or you've convinced yourself you're the reincarnation of Wyatt Earp. 6 shots is all I need, you mumble to yourself while everyone else has moved on to double-stack magazines. You've definitely said they don't make them like they used to, unironically within the last 24 hours. Every time you grip that revolver, you hear the Dirty Harry theme music in your head. You're absolutely convinced that revolvers never jam, they do. You claim to appreciate simplicity in design, and you probably have at least 1 bumper sticker referencing the Constitution. Deep down, you know you should probably upgrade, but you'd rather die than admit those plastic fantastics might actually be better for defensive use. The only thing more outdated than your gun is your insistence that wheel guns will make a comeback any day now. Number 4. Springfield HELLCAT Pro. Springfield HELLCAT Pro owner, we see you trying way too hard. You're the guy who couldn't decide between the P365 and the Glock 43X, so you went with option C because being contrarian is your entire personality. You spent hours convincing yourself that this is objectively better than both while knowing deep down you just wanted to be different. You definitely have more gun stickers on your car than is advisable and probably own at least 3 hats with Velcro patches. You claim to have chosen the HELLCAT Pro for its superior ergonomics, but really you just liked that it came with a fancy fiber optic sight that you show off to your unimpressed friends. At the range, you make a point of mentioning how underrated your gun is, desperately hoping someone will ask you about it so you can recite the spec sheet you memorized. Meanwhile, the poor rental counter guy has heard your "this shoots better than guns twice its price" speech 15 times this month alone. We get it. You're an individual with unique taste, just like everyone else with a HELLCAT. Number 5. Smith & Wesson M&P Shield Plus. Shield Plus carriers are the suburban dads of the gun world. You bought yours after your brother-in-law wouldn't shut up about his during Thanksgiving dinner. You like that it wasn't a GLOCK because you think differently, but it's still mainstream enough that parts are available at your local shop. You've watched exactly one YouTube video on concealed carry, which convinced you this was the perfect balance of size and capacity. Of course, you've never actually measured your groupings at distances beyond 7 yards, but you're convinced you're pretty good because you can hit a man-sized target most of the time. Every other sentence out of your mouth starts with, "well, for the price point," as if you're doing serious cost-benefit analysis rather than just buying what the guy at the gun counter recommended. You probably also drive a mid-sized SUV, have a preference between Home Depot and Lowe's that you'll defend to the death, and consider yourself pretty handy around the house, despite having an unfinished project in your garage for the last 3 years. Number 6. WALTHER PDP. Oh boy, a WALTHER PDP carrier. You watched a James Bond marathon once and haven't shut up about European engineering since. You're the guy who corners people at parties to explain why German manufacturing is superior while everyone slowly backs away. You definitely refer to your firearm as a weapon system and have strong opinions about trigger pull weight that absolutely nobody asked for. You've probably practiced your quick draw in the mirror more times than you'd ever admit publicly. The real reason you bought this gun is because you wanted something classy that still has modern features, which is the same reason you wear dress shoes with jeans. You think this choice makes you sophisticated, but really you're just paying extra for a brand name and the privilege of hunting for spare magazines that are perpetually out of stock. At least your Instagram gun photos look fancy with that distinctive grip texture, which, by the way, you mention in every conversation possible. Number 7. BERETTA 3032 TOMCAT. Carrying a BERETTA TOMCAT means you either have the smallest hands known to mankind or you're living in a 1980s European spy fantasy. This gun screams, "I wanted something Italian but couldn't handle a full-size 92. It's like buying a Ferrari Hot Wheels because you can't afford the real thing. You probably wear loafers without socks and have strong opinions about espresso. The real truth is, you chose this gun because it looked cool in the display case, not because you put any thought into whether .32 ACP is actually adequate for self-defense. You've definitely rehearsed the line, "It's not about stopping power, it's about shot placement," to justify your choice. The tip-up barrel feature fascinates you so much that you've demonstrated it to uninterested friends at least 50 times. "See? No slide to rack," you exclaim, while they wonder why you couldn't just buy a normal gun and hit the gym occasionally. But we all know the real reason. You think it makes you look like an international man of mystery instead of someone who bought the gun equivalent of a Vespa. Number 8. KEL-TEC P32. If you're carrying a KEL-TEC P32, you either got it on clearance or inherited it from an uncle with questionable taste. This is the gun for people who think adequate is an aspiration rather than a minimum standard. You're definitely the type to say, "I just needed something," as your entire justification. Your gun philosophy is better than nothing, which coincidentally describes your approach to most things in life. You probably haven't cleaned it since purchase, and you're vaguely aware that it might not function properly, but you've convinced yourself that you'll never actually need to use it. The P32 owner has memorized exactly one self-defense statistic. Most encounters are resolved without firing a shot, and clings to it like a life raft. Deep down, you know you should upgrade, but you've already spent your gun budget on tactical accessories for your home defense shotgun that never leaves the closet. At least it's lightweight, much like your commitment to serious training. Number 9. Desert Eagle. The Desert Eagle isn't a self-defense tool. It's a cry for attention wrapped in metal. You probably also drive a lifted truck with those fake bull testicles hanging from the hitch and think subtle is a type of sandwich. Every range trip ends with you asking strangers if they want to try shooting it, desperately seeking validation for your ridiculous purchase. Deep down, you know it's absurd, but at least when the zombies come, you'll be able to stop them through walls, 3 refrigerators, and possibly a small building. Number 10. Derringer. Carrying a Derringer in 2025? You either run a saloon in 1870s Dodge City, or you're deliberately trying to make self-defense as difficult as possible. This isn't a carry gun, it's a conversation piece that you've convinced yourself has practical applications. You've definitely practiced pulling it from an ankle holster or sleeve in the mirror, imagining yourself as a riverboat gambler. The phrase, "it's better than nothing," has become your personal mantra, though ballistics experts might disagree. You own at least one vest with too many pockets and have memorized the specifications of black powder cartridges that no one has manufactured since the McKinley administration. The Derringer carrier has watched too many old westerns and somehow believes 2 shots of questionable reliability are enough for modern self-defense scenarios. You probably also collect vintage pocket watches, write with fountain pens, and have strong opinions about handlebar mustache wax. At least you're consistent in your commitment to outdated technology. Number 11. CANIK TP9 Elite SC. The CANIK carrier, the guy who spends every conversation trying to convince people his Turkish pistol is just as good as guns costing twice as much. You definitely use the phrase "just as good" at least 3 times when describing your firearm choice. You pride yourself on being a savvy consumer who doesn't pay for brand names, yet you've somehow spent more on accessories than the gun itself. Your browser history is full of searches for CANIK versus GLOCK reliability tests and why CANIKs are underrated. You're the gun world equivalent of someone who drives a knockoff luxury car with aftermarket badges. Every range trip includes you pointing out how good the trigger is to anyone within earshot, desperately seeking validation for your budget-conscious decision. Deep down, you know if you just saved a little longer, you could have gotten what you really wanted, but hey, it's just as good, right? Right? Number 12. Raven Arms .25 ACP. If you're carrying a Raven Arms .25 ACP, your self-defense strategy is apparently hope the attacker dies of tetanus. This isn't a firearm, it's a paperweight that occasionally goes bang. You either found it in your grandfather's sock drawer or bought it from a guy named Sketchy Dave in a parking lot. The Raven carrier has definitely used the phrase, "they don't make them like they used to," without realizing that's actually a good thing in this case. Your backup plan is throwing the gun at your attacker when it inevitably jams after the first shot. You've convinced yourself that it's all about shot placement, while ignoring that your gun is more likely to place shots in random directions than where you're actually aiming. The best thing about carrying a Raven is that potential criminals might be so confused by your terrible choice that it gives you time to run away. Maybe that was your strategy all along? Genius. Number 13. 1911. Carrying a 1911 means you've definitely said 2 world wars in a heated discussion about modern pistols. You believe John Moses Browning personally whispers guidance to you through your dreams, and you're convinced that anything designed after 1945 is just a fad that will eventually pass. Your personality is 50% complaints about plastic guns and 50% nostalgia for a time period you didn't actually live through. You've definitely called something Jam Teen 11 while ignoring that your gun weighs as much as a small child and holds half the ammunition of modern compacts. Every range trip includes at least one lecture about stopping power and how they don't make them like they used to. You've worn out the phrase, "if you can't do it with 7 rounds, you can't do it," while secretly wishing you had a few more rounds during qualification shoots. The 1911 carrier loves tradition more than practicality, weighs his gun belt down like he's preparing for deep-sea diving, and will defend his choice to the death, which might come sooner if he ever needs to reload in a hurry. Number 14. Ruger LCP Max. The Ruger LCP Max Carrier has convinced themselves that the best gun is the one you'll actually carry, means I should choose the smallest possible gun, regardless of whether I can hit anything with it. Your primary shooting technique is prayer, hoping that if you ever need to use it, divine intervention will guide your bullets. You've definitely said, "It disappears in my pocket," like that's the only qualification that matters for a defensive firearm. Never mind that you can barely get a proper grip on it or that you flinch uncontrollably when firing this tiny hand cannon. Your range sessions consist of 5 painful rounds before deciding, that's enough practice for today. You've mastered the art of the pocket draw, which in reality takes you about 8 seconds of awkward fumbling. But hey, at least you're carrying something, which is more than you can say for all those people with full-size pistols sitting in their safes. Just maybe aim for targets bigger than a barn door. Number 15. Liberty Pen Gun. Liberty Pen Gun Carrier? Are you a Cold War spy or just determined to make the worst possible self-defense choice? This isn't even a gun. It's a novelty item that you've somehow convinced yourself has tactical applications. Your self-defense strategy is apparently, hope I have time to assemble this thing while being attacked. You definitely practice quick drawing it from your shirt pocket while making pew-pew sounds. You own at least 3 spy novels and have watched every James Bond film multiple times. The phrase "gray man concept" appears in your vocabulary despite the fact that nothing screams "notice me" quite like fumbling with a pen that turns into a single-shot firearm. The pen gun carrier thinks they're being clever and discreet when really they're just the tactical equivalent of someone who brings a unicycle to a car race. But hey, at least when someone asks if you have anything to write with, you can say, "This pen is mightier than most," with a wink that makes everyone uncomfortable. Number 16. CZP-10C. Carrying a CZP-10C means you spend way too much time on gun forums telling people how underrated your choice is. You're the craft beer enthusiast of the gun world, convinced you've discovered something amazing that the mainstream just doesn't appreciate yet. You've definitely used the phrase, "just as good as a Glock, but with a better trigger," so many times your friends mutter it under their breath when you walk into a room. Your entire identity revolves around not following the crowd while secretly craving their validation. The CZ carrier has strong opinions about European engineering and brings up low-bore axis in conversations where no one asked. You've practiced your draw stroke in the mirror more times than you've actually fired the weapon, and you have at least 3 holsters in your Amazon cart right now. But underneath that hipster gun owner exterior beats the heart of someone who made a solid choice. You're just way too smug about it. Number 17. TAURUS PT-709 Slim. If you carry a TAURUS PT-709 Slim, you either lost a bet or you've convinced yourself that reliability is overrated. This is the gun for people whose self-defense strategy is hope for the best. You definitely purchased it because it was on sale and have been trying to justify that decision ever since. Your range trips involve a lot of malfunction drills, not because you're practicing, but because you have no choice. You've memorized the phrase, "I got a good one," to explain why yours works when so many others don't. Every successful range session without a jam feels like winning the lottery. The TAURUS carrier has a complex relationship with YouTube review videos, desperately searching for positive ones to validate your choice while avoiding the countless ones documenting catastrophic failures. Your browser history is full of searches for TAURUS quality improved and budget gun reliability. Deep down, you know you should have saved up for something better, but hey, at least you've gotten really good at clearing stovepipes. So there you have it, folks. What your pocket pistol says about you. Remember, no matter what you carry, the most important thing is that you train with it regularly and carry it responsibly. And if I roasted your favorite gun today, well, maybe it's time for some self-reflection, or just tell yourself I'm wrong and keep on carrying what you love. After all, the best gun is the one you'll actually have when you need it, even if it's telling everyone around you that you make questionable life choices. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what your carry gun says about you. Until next time, stay safe out there.